there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Female Empowered Podcast. I'm your host, Christa Gurka, and today we're going to be talking about something that does not show up on any balance sheet or any KPI dashboard, and something you won't find in most business plans or CEO trainings, and that is the invisible work that most business owners take on that no one else sees. And it's also, I find, the invisible work that's holding most of us back from true growth, scale, and the freedom, or at least the time flexibility that we're often seeking in our business. And for people that have never owned and operated their own business, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that doesn't show up on a to-do list or a dashboard or spreadsheet. The emotional labor, the decision fatigue, the sweat equity, the managing your team, what's the word I'm looking for? Team attitudes, your team vibe, so to speak, your culture. And today I'm going to shed some light on the non-obvious workload and offer some real strategies for reclaiming not only your time, but your emotional bandwidth as a business owner, as a woman, as a female, as a human being. All right. So what are some of the invisible labor costs that we have to pay as fitness business owners? One specifically is team dynamics. So, managing the emotions of our team, checking in on burnout clinicians or instructors or underperforming clinicians or instructors, being the peacemaker between team members. I mean, I think we've all had, or if you haven't, kudos to you. But I think we've all had a situation where we've had to actually be the peacemakers between two adults who are acting like children. And listen, there's a lot of variety of personalities, and none of these people generally asked to be put on a team together, but they are. And not everyone gets along wonderfully, and that's okay. But for the sake of the team and the business, everyone has to at least respect each other. All right. So the other invisible workloads is like the client energy and the client vibe, absorbing feedback, good, bad, and indifferent. I mean, I'll never forget a client who said to me to my face after I had just spent $75,000 on the build out of a new location, literally said to my face before saying hello, um, I think the studio is horrible. I don't know why you moved from the last one. And it took all my energy not to punch her in the face, but that's hurtful. Not only do you spend hard-earned money, but probably a lot of time doing that, and people share good, bad, and indifferent with you. They also, you're remembering different events in your clients to help build that like nurturing effect, fielding complaints, even when you're off. I had a client walk up to me in the checkout line of the grocery store on a Sunday when I was with my children and say, "Hey, I have to talk to you about something. I've been trying to get this refund. I don't even remember what it was. Maybe a refund or maybe like she couldn't get into a class or something." And I was like, "This is my private time. You can one discuss that with the administrators or you can call the business. Like I'm here with my children." I think I'll never forget. I was just like, "I think this is a question for Monday." So, there's people feel that they should have, um, I've had clients find my personal cell phone number and call me about things on my personal line. So, there's all these things that you're having to absorb outside of the day to day. Decision fatigue. How many decisions go into the day to day operations of a small business? Choosing class times, choosing clinician shifts, pricing structures, remembering birthdays, music, toilet paper brands, inventory, What color should you do? What branding should you do? What should you call the business? Who should get time off? What holidays are you going to stay open? What holidays are you going to close for? Do you cancel that class if there's not enough people in it? Do you open more classes when you're on a wait list? I mean, the decisions you have to make on a timely like on a daily basis are a lot. Not to mention what I like to call senior. I was going to say senioritis, but yes, I have senioritis, but CEO guilt. Things like checking our emails late at night in case that one person who you left 3 messages for about changing their appointment finally calls you, or replying to last minute cancellations because you see that there's someone on a wait list and you're trying to get them in, or obsessing over that one client who hasn't rebooked and has ghosted you, or obsessing over that one team member who really needs to get her schedule full, and how are you going to get her schedule full so that she doesn't up and leave. So all of these things really take an emotional toll, and the feeling of emotional responsibility for our clients, for our team, being responsible for 3, 4, 10, 15, 20 people for their livelihood, what puts food on their table is a huge, unseen, invisible weight that we as business owners carry. Not to mention the fact that, I like to equate it to we're sitting at a poker table in Vegas and we have all of our chips on the table, all of our chips, and we're winning. We got like a ton of money on the table. We're making bank, but all it takes is one hand for all our chips to be walking away. And everyone else at that table can get up and leave and cash in. But as a business owner, we can't necessarily cash in all the time. We kind of have to sit and ride it out. And so the invisible weight of emotional responsibility that small business owners take is the kind of pressure that builds slowly and silently and consistently over time until one day you realize you're running your business in a reactive mode and your nervous system is like always on high alert. What I want to do in this episode today is name it, talk about it, and get clear on a process to lead a business, to lead a team without losing yourself in the process, or making that as little as possible or as infrequent as possible. And really talking about the unspoken burdens a business owner does carry, which really is all of this emotional responsibility. This is not about making payroll. This is not about managing your expenses. This is about the emotional labor that we as business owners quietly take on every single day while we're operating this business. You know, you've all felt it. If you're a business owner, and if you're a business owner that manages a team, you have felt responsible for your client's outcome, their confidence, their transformation. Are they going to value your business and what you're giving? You also carry this emotional responsibility for your team. You work hard to create a great culture, to try to be as approachable as possible, to foster open communication and trust along your team. But somewhere along the line, this healthy kind of leadership can turn into this really visceral feeling of internalized pressure to make everyone happy all the time. Not to mention, then you come home at the end of the day and feel that pressure at home, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your parents, whether it's with your friends. If we feel that if a staff member is unhappy or overburdened, struggling, disengaged, we might end up lying awake at night trying to figure out, what is it? Did I do something wrong? Did they roll their eyes at me at that meeting? Are they talking about me? I saw them all congregating, in the studio. Are they talking about me behind our back? If a team member is in a bad mood or underperforming, did we fail as a leader? Are we just not the right leader? Are they leaving, everyone says, oh, we're leaving a manager, not a business. Well, some people are leaving a manager because they don't like to be held accountable. Okay. And I talked about that in a previous episode. I think actually the one right before this. If someone quits, complains, disengages, we will often take that as a personal attack. What does it mean about us? And this happened to me for a long time. I used to sit in meetings and give, I'm very hyper vigilant. And so I would give everyone, I'd look at people's faces. And then, of course, I ruminate in my head, did they just roll their eyes? I think they looked at that other person. Are they talking about me? They're totally disengaged. I'm a bad boss, which means I'm a bad person. I'm an imposter. I have no idea what I'm doing. And it's like this ruminating spiral that doesn't help you and oftentimes is not even true. Okay. They could be rolling their eyes about something else. They could not even be paying attention to you and be having a whole other conversation in their head about the argument they got in with their kids in the morning before they came to work. All right. So, what I want us to try to avoid, and I'm not saying this is easy, this is hard, and these are the real differences that you can make in your business that will change the trajectory of your future as an owner. We must stop becoming the container for everyone else's emotions. We must stop trying to wear the hat of cheerleader, mediator, support system, sponsor, safety net. We must relinquish this type of control and recognize that we are not responsible for another adult's emotional reaction. We want to stop trying to think of, is everyone okay? Did I upset someone with that decision? Should I have handled that situation differently? How do I make sure that everyone is getting every single thing they need in this business? What will they think if I take a vacation or pay myself a raise or don't show up at the studio for 3 days? This was a big one for me. I used to always be like, well, what if I take a week off? What if I took 4 weeks off? What if I go away for a month in the summer? What are they going to think? That's not the right thing. I need to be there. I need to be present. I'm asking this of them, so I need to be there all the time. This is the kind of constant vigilance and emotional scanning and code switching that is exhausting. I can tell you this from personal experience. And I feel that it's especially hard for women because we in our society have been conditioned to believe that leadership means nurturing. Leadership means trying to make everyone happy. Leadership is when good bosses always available, are always trying to fix things for people instead of empowering them to problem solve. We just had this topic come up in our inner circle mentorship where a business owner was asking, one admin person was performing super, super well, another was not. And she said, well, maybe I should change her salary and not tie in bonuses to her conversion rate because it doesn't work good for her. And I'm putting too much pressure on her. That's not pressure. That is asking for performance. That is asking for performance. And so when we try to kowtow and we try to fit square pegs in round holes all the time, we take all of this burden on ourselves. And then we wonder why our nervous system is always on edge. The emotional responsibility that we take on is unpaid, unacknowledged, and oftentimes unreciprocated. So while you're holding space for your team, your clients, and maybe even your clients' families, recognize that you now do not have enough space for you and your family and your growth and the growth of other things, the things that really, really are going to move the needle in your business. Over time, this invisible weight becomes a real burden. It's like concrete handcuffs and you're in the middle of the ocean. It will lead you to burnout, resentment, decision fatigue. You won't want to make a single decision, isolation. I mean, if you want to talk, we're all movement people here. I mean, if you really want to talk about the different endorphins that this releases or does not release, and the level of oxytocin and the um, chronic illness, do you know how many business owners have autoimmune diseases? A lot. Okay. And what happens is we get in these cycles, our cortisol is through the roof, and we start to feel numb, uninspired, and questioning whether we're even good at this anymore. But as an owner, it's kind of like I said in that poker table, like we don't have the ability necessarily all the time to cash in and push away from the table. So what do? We keep showing up. We keep trying to hold it all together because the business needs a leader. They need someone to follow because we care deeply and on many levels. Sometimes it's our self-worth that are tied to this business. Sometimes it's financially it's tied to this business, right? We care deeply about people. We are very caring people. That's usually why we got into this profession as physical therapists, as Pilates instructors, as movement instructors, as functional medicine doctors, as, you know, all the different types of women business owners in health and wellness that I work with. But here's the truth that I want you to understand. What you're doing becomes natural for you, and it's natural for a lot of us, but it's not sustainable in business, which ultimately means it's not sustainable in your life. It's not sustainable in life to have a life built entirely around other people's emotions. We, as adults, are not responsible for another adult's happiness or emotional reaction. We are allowed to protect certain boundaries and certain peace. Leadership is more about modeling good, decent boundaries, okay? And then having systems for which everyone can work around those boundaries and boundaries both ways. Okay. It's why, as business owners, we find ourselves oftentimes flying off the handle. It's not that we really are overworked and burnt out, it's that we're carrying too much weight. So, with this episode, I want you to recognize the weight that you're carrying, name it, and try to put some of it down. This is where the delegate, delete, or defer happens. Can you delegate some of this to someone else? Can you delete it from the process entirely, or can you defer it for later? Because naturally we're nurturers, we're helpers, we're conditioned, at least I am, to overfunction emotionally. And we don't just deliver on our services, we hold space for our clients. We're in movement based industries. We hold space for them constantly, for our team, for our vendors, for our families, for our friends. And often, like I was saying, we hold it for everyone else, but not for ourselves. And many people don't see this weight. And we might not even be able to name it. We just say, oh, we're burnt out. And I can tell you, most of the time, no one is there to thank us for carrying it. They're not. You've seen that visual. I'm sure you've seen that visual where the iceberg is on top, but then there's a huge iceberg all the way underneath of all the other stuff that no one sees. And what took the Titanic down is the iceberg under the water. And that's what's going to happen to us. We're slowly taking on water and eventually we're going to drown. And so, what we need to do is redefine what leadership really means. No one is coming to save us from this. Hopefully, this episode will be a little bit of an eye opener for you and you'll recognize it, you'll name it, and you'll start to make strides for how you can improve this in your business and maybe even your life. Okay? So no one is going to do this work for you except yourself. You can certainly get a supportive group. And this is why I'm a huge advocate of coaching and mentoring and having a group of other like minded women that understand what you're going through, can call you out when you're falling into these categories again, and can give you strategies on how you can work ourselves out of this. It's something I went through personally, and so it's something I very much advocate for in our mentorship groups, and I push back on some of the business owners very clearly about this. Okay? So what I want you to hear again, I'm going to say it and I say it in my groups all the time. You are not responsible for everyone's happiness. You are not responsible for another adult's emotional reactions. You are responsible for leading your business with integrity, compassion, and clear expectations. This is where most of us drop the ball. We are not required to absorb everyone's emotions or sacrifice our well being to be a good boss. We are required and responsible for creating an extremely built out standard operating procedure, policy and procedure manual, and setting clear expectations and holding those people accountable to those expectations. We are not necessarily responsible for the emotional reaction if they cannot stay accountable to their expectations. So I want you to reframe some of this a little bit. Okay. Good leaders, and when you're learning good leadership, you will do this, they model boundaries rather than being endlessly available. So, how can you do this? Maybe you can have open office hours. So instead of people running into your office or like passing you in the hallway and being like, "Hey, I wanted to ask for vacation." No, I know as founders, as business owners, we're already thinking 17. I'm not thinking about your vacation right now. So have open office hours. Maybe Wednesdays from 3 to 5 or Mondays from 2 to 4. Like these are the hours I'm available. I'm happy to meet with you at any given time. You can also have a liaison, so someone who these people can go to. You can have a written process. The policy for how to request time off is like written. Just go into an app or fill out a Google form and submit it. That's it. Nobody has to talk to anyone. Leadership is also about creating clear expectations, okay? And then empowering that team to fulfill those expectations, not always fixing their problem. So even if we might see a mistake coming down the pipeline, sorry, just took a sip of water, we need to sit in that discomfort and not fix the mistake right away because they will learn when the mistake happens and they have to fix it. Leadership is about learning how to clearly communicate your needs, your wants, your expectations, and not walking on eggshells. So, if your expectation is team members are supposed to arrive 10 minutes before their shift starts, that's the expectation. It's not binary, it's just you're supposed to be here 10 minutes before your shift starts. And if somebody is not doing that, the next phrase is, "Hey, we need to talk about you've been late for work a couple days." "Oh, but yeah, but I'm always here at 8." "No, well, the expectations you're here 10 minutes to 8. So I just need you to work on that. I want, from now on, we're gonna have to, I really want you to be here 10 minutes to 8." Great. That's it. That's it. Okay. There doesn't need to be all the excuses and everything. Or if people start throwing that back on you, you can be like, "Yeah, I understand. I'm not questioning you. I'm just letting you know that it's something that I would really like you to work on." Perfect. Done. Okay. So now what I'd like to do is I hopefully resonated with you and most of you are like, "Yes, I get that." That's a huge, huge weight. And it's what prevents us from being able to do the actual binary things that are going to move the needle in our business. Because again, we feel isolated, we feel numb, we start to procrastinate. Okay. We just don't have enough bandwidth. So if we're taking on everyone's emotional reaction, our cup is overfloweth. It's not like you can't fill from an empty cup. It's already overflowing. And so there's no more to give. So what we have to do is we have to start taking some of that water out so that we have the bandwidth emotionally and energetically to do the job we're actually supposed to be doing. So like I said, setting certain boundaries or just certain policies is good to have, right? So maybe let your team know when you're available and stick to it. So like I do office hours every whatever day it is to and then they have a calendar link so that they can set up a time to meet with you, whether that's by Zoom or in person. Maybe try to avoid responding to every crisis in real time. Okay. That trains everyone to try to fix a situation without relying on you. So if the AC breaks, maybe someone on your team has the ability to reach out to the AC repair person and not have you have to do it. Okay. When we try to jump into rescue everyone, it just creates that habit that they're always going to come to us for something. And some of us feel that we should, but we feel that incorrectly. That's not true. Okay. Over functioning leaders create under functioning teams. It's true. And I've learned the hard way, unfortunately. So instead of jumping in to rescue people, how about asking instead, maybe hit the tennis ball back in their court? How do you plan to solve this? How can I support you in working through this? Or when someone's like, oh, we should do this. This happened to me all the time. Oh, we should do this. We should do a donation class. We should do this. Okay, great. When you take that on, let me know what materials you need, and I'll be sure that you have every resource you need to take that on and work this project to completion. Teach your team how to function without you. And if they can't, again, maybe they're not sitting in the right seat in your business. Now, this takes time. It's not like, oh, tell them today and they're supposed to be perfect tomorrow. No, but if you've given them this type of leadership, these type of expectations, and they're still not able to do it, then it's not wrong to say, you are a fabulous person. I just think this is not the right role for you. And really thinking about how you can rewrite the story of what being supportive looks like. Being supportive does not necessarily mean taking on everyone else's stress and problems. Being supportive definitely does not mean being liked all the time. And I know that that's very hard for most of us as business owners, myself included. Being supportive does not always mean sacrificing our own needs. Okay. Instead, I invite you to try to think of being supportive as being clear, with clarity, leading with clarity. So again, if a staff member is underperforming, it is clear and kind when you tell them they're underperforming. You're not responsible for if they start crying because they feel bad about that. You're giving them facts and you're going to give them the tools for the way that they can improve in a kind and courteous manner, coaching them through how they can improve. And if ultimately this isn't working, then let them go so they can be in a job, in a role where they're actually flourishing. Okay. Being supportive is leading with consistency. It's more important and it's way more supportive to give honest feedback than to avoid the hard conversations. Because I can tell you, having difficult conversations is hard. Not having the courage to have them and what transpires because of that is way harder. It's way more supportive for you to say to your team, here's what's expected, than to overextend yourself trying to manage how people feel. So, how can you build a supportive structure for yourself? Okay. How can you build a supportive structure not only for your team, but for yourself? And so, when you feel like you're carrying a lot, how can you get other people to carry it for you? So, I'll give you a great example. We just had someone also in the group that had another admin leave 90 days in, and she had had a lot of turnover and she finally felt like she was on the right spot. And but she does have an admin that's wants, is wanting a pay increase, is wanting a little more responsibility. So I said, why not let her be in charge of hiring the next person? Let some people on your team realize how difficult and challenging some of these things are. Let them take on some of that discomfort and role rather than you taking it on so that they don't feel bad. Creating a support system for yourself looks like getting a mentor or a coach who understands this weight. I do. I understand this weight. I lived it for 15 years. And the emotions I feel since selling my business are a plethora of emotions, let's say. Lean into therapy. Emotional labor can definitely be like trauma adjacent. And when I mean trauma, like little mean trauma, little t trauma. So like for example, the type of person I am I really am validated by a lot of external forces, which is why I was like such a high achiever and I perfectionist, and it made me feel valued because of like my upbringing and whatever, all sorts of attachment issues, blah, 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 right? Which I thought was all woo woo. I recognize me leaning into therapy and recognizing the reasons that I acted and my default strategies and where they were coming from really allowed me to become a better person, which ultimately made me become a better leader. And the women that join my mastermind can share openly and be seen as like female women going through their own things, not just leaders of their business. And so joining masterminds, the mastermind I'm in, my boutique fitness people, we're still very, very, very close. So you need emotional support as a business owner. And I invite you to really look into going to get it. So it's not just about learning how to be a better marketer, a better, financial advisor, to learning your numbers. All of those things, yes, are very important. But the one thing that's really going to make a huge difference is learning how you don't have to be the emotional support human for everyone without supporting yourself. You need that support just as much, if not more, as everyone on your team. So, like, ask yourself, do a check in with yourself. What am I carrying today that isn't mine? Am I carrying the weight of trying to find coverage for instructors when somebody else can be doing that? A manager who maybe you're paying to do that? What assumptions am I making about my role? Am I assuming that everyone needs me to be their emotional cheerleader? That's not necessarily true. Am I assuming that my team is going to think badly of me because I took a 3-week vacation? Most of the time, the answer is no. What am I making up in my head that is causing me to take on more than I need to be taking on? Where can I step back and let others help? Where can I step back and let others lead in? And if your answer is, well, I can't, no one's qualified, then that's on you for not hiring qualified people or not training them appropriately. So if your answer is, well, I can't let anyone do all this, they're not qualified for it, well, then maybe you need to look at your hiring process and who you're bringing on your team. It really is not easy at all. I'm telling you, because I've been doing it for the last 7 years, to unlearn emotional over functioning. But it is responsible. I mean, it's responsible as you as a business owner. It is necessary if you want to get a business that's sustainable and healthy. I'm telling you from personal experience. Okay. Boundaries and these systems protect our emotional energy. And without emotional bandwidth and energetic bandwidth to do the big things and be the vision and be the mission and carry on the culture, we won't be able to do the little things. We'll feel overwhelmed and numb and just be like, I'm tired. So, what I invite you to do is work on these things so these times are fewer and far between. I'm not going to say they're never going to happen. They are. As the owner, the buck stops with us. Okay. We always are going to live with a little bit of this emotional risk. But if it's less and less, we can handle the difficult times better. It doesn't go away. It's the same way like with Pilates. It doesn't get easier, you get better. Okay. Being a better leader doesn't get easier. We get better at being better leaders. Okay. So, how about creating certain boundaries, right? Certain policies. How about a not mine list? Like, this is not mine to take on. It is not my responsibility to remind people that that person covering on the weekend doesn't have the alarm code. That should be somebody else's responsibility. Okay. What about a team escalation policy? What should an instructor or team member actually bring to you before handling it themselves? Or maybe there's a manager that they should be bringing it to. Train your team and your clients when they can expect a response. Maybe it's like you'll get a response in the next 24 hours. It doesn't have to be immediate. Especially, I'm going to offer this advice that if it's something that really boils you, like it's really getting under your skin, give yourself 24 or even the weekend to get over it before you reply. Bad feedback, someone asking for a refund that really doesn't deserve it, a team member that says yada, 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 whatever it is, you don't have to answer that right away. You want to create like an emotional buffer system for yourself, someone that's a manager, okay, to deliver hard messages, even a CRM. Like before I actually had managers on my team, I used to tell people all the time, oh, I have to send this to Sandy in our billing department and she'll get back to you. And then Sandy was actually me, but I could just deflect it. It's okay. I didn't want to answer it right then. I needed to go talk to Sandy, and Sandy was my financial alter ego. Okay. Delegate decisions. When you build out your process, it takes away the decision fatigue, right? So if it's like, this is the onboarding, we do this, we do this, we do this. Or this is how people get raises. They meet this expectation, and this expectation. And that's it. It really, really takes a lot of the decision fatigue out of your day to day. It becomes very binary. Like, did they check these boxes? Yes or no? And if no, then they don't get a raise. Use tools to do some of the heavy lifting. CRMs like Moments. I'm a pro partner with Moments now. So if any of you are on Moments and are looking for help in how to navigate, reach out to me. DM me on Instagram. Let me know. I'm here to help you. I have plenty of services to help those that are using Moments to automate your follow-ups, your confirmations, your subbing requests. There's a lot of things you can do in tech that will take some of that decision out of you. Lastly, I want you to think of a few reframes. So when you really want to tell yourself, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, maybe just say, I'm carrying too much right now. I need to let something off my plate. We need to delete something or defer something, or I need to delegate something. That might mean leaving the dishes in your sink at night. That might mean ordering food instead of cooking. Okay. Normalize that learning how to decrease your emotional load and responsibility is real work. Just because it's not a billable hour doesn't mean it's not important. So instead of saying, like, I'm so behind in this, recognize I took too much on and I need more time or I need support to make it happen. Right? The women in our inner circle reach out, and I'm here to help unburden them from some of their things and also tell them, you don't need to be carrying this weight. This is not yours to carry anymore. It no longer serves you. Okay. You're not lazy. You're not failing. You're just functioning without any margin. And living paycheck to paycheck or living emotional paycheck to paycheck is really, really hard. You are a great person. You started a business or took a business or bought a business and are growing it on your own. You have this boulder up on your shoulders and you are taking it uphill. You can be a good leader and still have boundaries. You can be liked by everyone and still have boundaries. You can care deeply about people and let people be responsible for their own outcomes and their own emotions. You can fully support people on your team without sacrificing yourself in the process. What I want you to start creating is becoming your own emotional safety net rather than everyone else's safety net. And I want you to recognize why you might be feeling like you're at your wit's end. So if this episode hit home for you, and I know just by me talking about it, it hit home for me, right? I'd love for you to hit me up on Instagram, DM me over there, and let me know what you thought about this episode. Or even better, share it with another business owner who you think needs to hear this. Maybe better yet, start a conversation with your team. Normalize talking about it and model what it looks like to carry on without carrying all of the emotional weight of other people's emotions. Try it on for size. I can tell you after doing the hard work, it feels really good on this side. It's doable. It's achievable. Will it happen overnight? No. But can you get it done? Yes. All right, ladies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly enjoyed sharing it with you. I hope you took away some good nuggets from this. Recognize you're not alone. And until next time, bye for now.